You are in the wild in southeastern Australia, and nature's biggest performer is manipulating every in the forest. It is morning. The light is low and green through the tree ferns. Somewhere ahead of you, you cannot yet see it, a bird is singing. But it isn't one bird's song. It is the sound of 12 birds singing at once. You can hear a kookaburra, a grey shrike-thrush, a superb fairy-wren. You can hear the specific alarm call of a thornbill, the rolling cascade of a pilotbird, the click-click of a camera shutter. You can hear something that sounds exactly like a chainsaw starting. You move closer. The sound shifts. Now you can hear small wings beating, the rapid, panicked wing beats of a mixed flock of birds that have seen something dangerous and are scattering in every direction. You find the source. It is one bird, a superb lyrebird, Menura novae hollandiae, standing on a mound of raised earth in a forest clearing. Brown feathers, a tail of iridescent silver and copper arranged in an arc above its back. It is alone, and everything you heard, every bird, every alarm, every wing, came from one throat. You have just witnessed what most people see as one of nature's greatest performances, a virtuoso mimic, a master entertainer. You have not understood what you actually saw, because the lyrebird is not performing for you. It is not even performing. It is running a manipulation so sophisticated that scientists spent decades studying it before they understood the mechanism. And when they did understand it, the paper they published used a word not commonly found in ornithology journals. That word is deception. Let's start with what everyone knows, because the familiar story is mostly right. It just stops at the wrong place. The superb lyrebird is native to the wet eucalyptus forests of southeastern Australia. It is one of the world's largest songbirds. The male has a tail of extraordinary architectural complexity, long, lacy outer feathers framing a spray of iridescent plumes that he fans above his back during display. Females are smaller, plainer, less conspicuous. The lyrebird's vocal ability is genuinely without parallel in the bird world. Other birds mimic. Parrots, mockingbirds, starlings, they all copy sounds they have heard. But they tend to copy individual sounds, individual calls, individual songs. The lyrebird doesn't do this. It copies and recombines. It takes the alarm call of a currawong, the contact call of a honey-eater, the territorial song of a robin, and produces them simultaneously, independently from different parts of its vocal anatomy in any combination, in real time. The syrinx, the bird's vocal organ, sits lower in the body than the human larynx, below the lungs, where the windpipe branches into two. In most birds, the two sides of the syrinx are linked and operate together. In the lyrebird, each side is partially independent. The bird can produce two completely different sounds at the same time. Blend them, layer them, shape them into something that sounds like a mob of birds rather than one. This is not a trick. It is a physiological capability that took millions of years to develop. The question evolutionary biologists have been asking is, why? Why would a bird build this level of complexity? What does running a full 12-bird orchestra buy you that a simpler song cannot? For a long time, the answer seemed obvious. Sexual selection. Females choose mates. Males display. The more elaborate the display, the more likely it is to succeed. A lyrebird that can convincingly render 15 species is more impressive than one that can render 5. Females prefer the better mimic. The better mimic leaves more offspring. Over millions of years, the mimicry gets more accurate, more complex, more astonishing. Darwin described this process in 1871. He called it the female's taste for the beautiful. The male is beautiful. The female selects him for it. This explanation is clean. It is intuitive. It was the dominant framework for understanding lyrebird mimicry for most of the 20th century. It is not wrong exactly, but in 2021, a research team from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, Western Sydney University, and the Australian National University published a paper in the journal Current Biology that added something else, something that changed the story completely. They had been watching lyrebirds in the wild, with audiovisual recording equipment, documenting exactly when the mimicry occurred and what was happening around it. Not just documenting the songs, but mapping the behavior, watching the female, tracking the sequence of events. And they noticed a pattern: the most elaborate mimicry, the full mixed-species flock simulation, the wingbeats, the alarm calls, the cacophony of multiple birds panicking, was not happening during the initial display to attract a female. It was happening at two very specific moments. The first moment, when a female attempted to leave. The second moment, during copulation itself. This requires a pause, because what this actually means needs to be stated precisely. The male lyrebird, when a female tries to walk away without mating, switches from song to something different. He begins producing the sound of a mixed-species flock in a state of predator alarm. Multiple birds, multiple alarm calls, multiple wing beats, all simultaneously, all created by one throat. To a bird, this sound means one thing: there is a predator here. A predator serious enough to send every bird in the vicinity into flight. A cat, a hawk, a snake. Something that will kill you if you don't move. And what do you do when you hear that sound? You freeze, or you press yourself close to the nearest cover. You absolutely do not fly away across open ground, because whatever has alarmed those birds might be waiting in exactly the direction you are about to go. The female lyrebird freezes, or she presses herself to the male, and the copulation continues. The researchers confirmed this through playback experiments. They recorded real mixed-species mobbing flocks and played them near lyrebirds in the wild. The response was exactly what you would expect. Birds froze or retreated. Then they recorded the male lyrebird's mimicry of that same mobbing flock and played it near females. The same response. The illusion was sufficient, acoustically, to fool the receivers. A real flock and a fake flock produced the same behavioral result. The male lyrebird was not singing beautifully to a female who found him attractive. He was fabricating a predator to prevent her from leaving. The paper described this as a sensory trap, a mechanism by which one animal exploits the evolved responses of another to manipulate their behavior in a direction that benefits the exploiter but not the target. The term used repeatedly in the published research was coercion. Dr. Anastasia Dalziel, lead author of the study, noted in her comments on the paper that this was not Darwin's taste for the beautiful driving the male's extravagance. This was sexual conflict, a situation where the reproductive interests of male and female are not aligned, and where the male has evolved a mechanism to override the female's choice. There was one more observation in the data that the researchers described as particularly striking. During copulation, when the male produces the fake alarm flock most intensely, the moment of maximum deception, he also spreads his wings over the female's head. He blocks her view, not as a display, not as an embrace. He positions his wings to prevent her from seeing her surroundings and potentially detecting that the alarm sounds she is hearing are coming not from a flock of panicked birds, but from the animal currently on top of her. He makes the sound with his throat and closes off her vision with his wings. The researchers noted this in the paper without dramatic commentary. But read carefully, it describes an animal running a two-channel con, acoustic deception and visual obstruction, simultaneously, in real time, coordinated for a specific outcome. What does this mean about the lyrebird? It means that when you watch the famous footage, the bird standing on its mound, producing its extraordinary catalogue of sounds, you are watching something more complex than performance. You are watching the product of an arms race. The paper described it as antagonistic coevolution. Males evolve more accurate and elaborate deception. Females evolve more acute perception to detect the deception. Males counter with more layers of misdirection. Females counter with sharper discrimination. Back and forth, generation after generation, both sides being pushed toward greater sophistication by the other. The extraordinary mimicry is not the goal, it is the weapon. And the weapon's complexity is a direct measure of how long the arms race has been running. The female lyrebird is not simply a passive audience. She is a highly evolved detector trying to see through an illusion that has been refined for millions of years specifically to fool her. When you watch the lyrebird in the forest and think it is performing for you, you are seeing a fragment of something much older and much stranger. A negotiation between two organisms whose interests are not aligned, conducted entirely in sound. There is a habit in nature documentary filmmaking, and in the way most people think about animal behavior, of framing what animals do as beautiful, harmonious, designed. The lyrebird sings, the female listens. Together, they produce the next generation. Isn't nature wonderful? The science says something more complicated, that the bird's most extraordinary ability, the one that has been on television for decades, the one that makes people gasp, is a manipulation. That it works because it exploits an ancient involuntary fear response that evolution built into birds 100 million years before the lyrebird appeared. And that the female, for all her apparent passivity in the story, is locked in an evolutionary contest that has been running longer than our species has existed. If this changed what you see when you watch the famous footage, subscribe. That is exactly what this channel is for. Every video here takes the animal you thought you understood and shows you what the science actually says is happening underneath. The next video is about a bird even more famous for its cognitive abilities. One that has been performing tasks in laboratories that researchers describe as belonging to the intelligence range of a 7-year-old human. And the one thing about how its brain works that nobody in the popular science coverage seems to have mentioned.